The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
You got something special. I see it. I've got a mission for you.
All right.
Blend in. Find out who's loyal to the good guys and who isn't.
What was that?
What was what?
The throwing and the falling. Over there.
Don't think about it.
All wings report in, Skywalkers! And welcome to our recap review show, where we will buzz through each of the 22 episodes of the new animated Disney XD series, Star Wars Resistance.
And this is the third entry in the Star Wars Filoni-verse. And in case you haven't watched them all, there will be spoilers.
Now, I am Sarah Woloski, and with me today is my husband.
Your sweetie husband. Go ahead and say it.
That's right, my sweetie husband, Richard Woloski.
Hey, everyone. We are very excited about this new series called Star Wars Resistance Flyby. Or for short, we'll just call it Resistance Flyby.
There you go. Now, in this episode, we will fly by the two-part debut that aired on October 7th, The Recruit. Now, before we begin our breakdown, let's find out a little about the actors and the executive producers from the press day that we attended, held at the Disney offices in Burbank on September 25th.
Now, in attendance were Christopher Sean,
Kazuda,
who plays Kazuda Zee-ono. They really need to change that name.
Well, it kind of rolls off the tongue once you know what it is. Kazuda Zee-ono.
Kazuda Zee-ono.
Yeah.
There you go. Only took me 4 attempts. Donald Faison was there, who plays Hype Fazon. Bobby Moynihan was also there, who voices Orka. And Yanni. And we still don't know who the character Yanni is just yet.
No, we're not sure.
Suzie McGrath was there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Susie McGrath.
Suzie McGrath was there, who voices Tam Rivora. And executive producers Athena Portillo, Justin Ridge, and Brandon Auman. Now, there was so much good stuff that day, and luckily it was all caught on audio. Unfortunately, not our audio, but thanks to our good friends Brian Young and John Marie Macias, who lent us their audio because our audio had failed.
Yeah. This is just an example of why we love podcasters and Star Wars fandom. So thank you both, you guys.
Yeah, you really saved the day. You really stepped up there, and we really appreciate it.
And we also want to thank Fangirls Going Rogue, as that was why I was able to attend.
And I was there representing JediNews, and a big thanks to James Burns.
All right, well, let's start with this Resistance Roundtable, and we're going to hear first from Christopher Sean about his character, Kaz.
Say his name real quickly.
Kazuda Zee-ono. I can do it. What's your problem?
Kazuda Zee-ono. Kazuda Zee-ono.
You have to think of it all as one word. I think that helps.
Kazuda Zee-ono. Yeah,
see?
It does help.
It does.
You start off by telling us your interpretation of Kaz?
Kaz is a confident, at times, bravado, a little too much bravado, clumsy, great person who commits 110% passion into whatever he does.
What part of yourself did you bring into Kaz?
The clumsy goofiness. I took the Han Solo charm and charisma. I took the Poe Dameron instinct and rebel, and I took
Jar Jar?
the Navy. I took the Navy from my father because he was my father was in the Navy, retired now, and myself. I put the goofiness in because I'm a silly guy. I'm a big kid with my stepkids. I got a sister with Down syndrome, and it's like being a child all the time with her, you know. So I apply all that in one, and we have a nice beef stew.
I was watching him as we were recording, and it's like, boy, I just don't hear Kaz in you. So which says how good of a voiceover actor he is, because he can really separate the two.
Yes, definitely.
Now, we also spoke with Susie McGrath, who plays Tam Rivora, the confident, tough mechanic of Team Fireball.
So Tam aspires to be a pilot. She is very hardworking, and she actually left her home planet of Kuwait and to be a famous racer, and fell on some hard times, crashed her plane, and has found herself on the Colossus.
So she's from Kuwait, huh?
From Kuwait. She works on ships. I like
Really? Tell us more. Tell us more about this.
That's all I got.
The one table here where Kuwait is going to mean something.
Yeah.
You have this relationship with Kaz where it doesn't look like you're the biggest fan of Kaz. So I was wondering what's that relationship going to be like moving forward? Like, what kind of role is that going to play?
Well, I think we definitely see them go on a journey, and I think that he comes in and he upsets the apple cart because she's promised some things, and she's a hard working girl, and then he comes in and breaks things and takes things, and it's like, whoa, hold on, like this is my territory. So I think there's a little struggle there, but he's like that character. You just like Tam. Like so often, I feel that Tam's like just observing him, rolling her eyes, like, what are you doing? But I think it's those moments that get her because it softens you. He's such a lovable character. So I think that happens to us anyway, but that happens to Tam. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited for you to see how their relationship unfurls.
Yeah, will there be some Tam-centric episodes down the line? Because I'm really eager to see more.
I hope so. I mean, I don't know how much I can say, but I certainly hope so. I mean, you do get to you will get to know Tam.
Okay.
Boy, she was a firecracker.
She was so sweet at the round table.
Yeah.
She was so adorable, and it's so opposite of what Tam is on the show so far.
Well, it was funny that she turned the tables on us and asked us questions because I had asked her about going to Celebration Chicago in 2019 and how she thinks of that. And she said, okay, well, what do I expect from the fans? What should I be prepared for?
Right.
So it was very, very sweet.
Uh-huh.
And we just said, you know what? Be yourself. She's so charming. Just be yourself and the fans will just eat it up.
Definitely. All right, Richard, then we got to speak with Donald Faison. Now, why were you excited about him?
Because I am a huge fan of Scrubs. And I've run into him before at different Celebration conventions, but never got a chance to really meet him. So when I say I've run into him, we've passed in the hallways. I've always wanted to yell out, Turk Turkelson!
Aww.
But never had. So when I found out he was going to be here, I can say I was very starstruck. And
yeah.
if you watch the video that we had posted.
Yes, that is on skywalkingforce.com. So our Patreon, if you're a contributor to our Patreon Skywalking Force, then you can see this video.
Yeah, and if you see the video, I never take my eyes off of him. I am just so that starstruck.
Yeah, is it one of those things where you ask him a question, but then it's hard for you to understand what he says because you're thinking so much in your head?
Yeah, that's how big of a fan I was of Scrubs and how much of a pioneering series that was.
Yeah.
And he was a big, big part of it. And I was so sad that Detours never saw the light of day, and I was excited that he was associated with Detours. So we can always watch him in Robot Chicken and Black Stormtrooper to get his connection with Star Wars, but to see him right here and talking about Hype Faison, his character, was so exciting because it was like talking to a 5-year-old Donald Faison, because he was right back there, and you could see the excitement pouring out of him like he was 5 years old.
Well, let's listen to his excitement here.
The name Faison will live forever in Star Wars lore.
Well, welcome back to Star Wars.
Thank you very much. It's great to be on a show that's Star Wars. It's great to be on a show, period, but the fact that it's a Star Wars show means everything to me. And the fact that they created a character with my name means even more.
I guess you can say that we're all the 5-year-olds, because whenever we talk about Star Wars, that excitement just comes right out of us, just like it did with Donald.
Yeah, and similarly, Bobby Moynihan, who plays Orka, he also was super excited to be in Star Wars.
Can you tell us about Orka?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can now. It's the best. I've been keeping my mouth shut for so long. Me and I play Orka, and Jim Rash from Community plays Flix. We are a bit of a duo, Flix and Orka. We work at the Colossus, which is the platform. This is sort of a galactic truck stop, if you will. I don't quote them on that. I hope they don't. They're going to yell at me for that. Yeah, it's this, kind of place. It's like the floating cantina. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like this place where you fix your ship, you go get gas, you go get food. It's just like this hub of. It's a truck stop. It's the cantina. It's like if all the Star Wars we've seen before is about the Force and the Skywalker family in some capacity, and this is about all the guys that go drink at the cantina afterwards. And that's. It's like they just dropped this branch of a whole brand new dense universe that feels very lived in. Just went like, there you go, nerds. Very happy about it.
Awesome. You did mention that you saw your character right before you got to record the voice. Did that inform what you said about how your
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's funny. Like, I spent a lot of time trying to make up characters at SNL, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, you're going to be some Star Wars characters," and you're like, "Well," and they showed me my character for the first time, and I went like, my first thought was, are you guys Star Wars fans? In New Hope, in the cantina scene, Cabe, he's trying to grab the drink off the bar and he can't because the gloves are he's so crappy. And I was like, I'm one of them. And they're called Chadra fans, which I found out through this. And I went like, I'm one of those guys. Like, oh my god, it's crazy. And when I first saw Flix, they showed it to us for a second and moved it away. And when I first saw Flix, I thought he was a porg. So for months, I was like, my partner is a porg, and I was like mad. Not like in a bad way. I like the porg, but just in my life, as I felt like I was turning into the character, I was like, I don't want to work with a porg. And that made me really happy. And he's not. He's kind of a brand new species, porg adjacent.
So Bobby also mentioned that he has an R2-D2 that he built.
That he built because he needed something to do with his hands other than smoking. So that little R2 really saved his life.
Yeah, that was great.
And that same R2 can be seen in Saturday Night Live in the Star Wars sketches that he had written and produced. And he brought it in and told the crew, "Hey, can you beef it up a little bit?"
Yeah.
So it was kind of like at the end of Star Wars when Luke comes back with the old burnt out R2 unit. And the next scene he's all shiny and new because the rebellion team had spiffed him up and put new lights and just give him a good scrub down.
That was awesome. Wow. So fun talking with Bobby.
Now, before we go into our breakdown, our flyby breakdown of Star Wars Resistance, let's hear from executive producers Athena Portillo, Justin Ridge, and Brandon Auman as we asked them about the screenings of Star Wars Resistance and had they screened it for children just yet, and I was very eager to hear their answer. Have you had a chance to screen this for kids in your age group?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
What did they really gravitate for?
Yeah.
And what did change after their screening?
Testing was through the roof.
Testing was great.
Yeah, they loved it. They ate it up, which is exactly what we wanted, Yeah, they had a tremendous response to it. They thought it was, they wanted to see more BB-8. They wanted to see, more of the characters. But we were so happy that they gravitated towards Kaz, that they thought that Kaz was very sort of representative of them being a bit, clumsy, not perfect, kind of awkward. I think kids really respond to Kaz in that sense because Kaz is we liken him to sort of like a bird, right? Like in the air, he's flying, he's just sailing around, he's just great. But on the ground, he's a little awkward, he's a little clumsy, he's a little... he's not as graceful, he hasn't quite found himself. Kaz is around 20 years old, but he's still he still has very sort of kid-like qualities because he was raised in a wealthy household, which is very different from most protagonists in the Star Wars universe. They're usually poor or they come from with no money. So there's a very kind of different character. But in the same sense, that doesn't define Kaz who he is. He's a very good person. He's very altruistic.
And once again, a big shout out and a big thank you and a giant Wookiee hug to our podcasting friends Brian Young and Jonna Marie Macias for helping us with this audio.
And now on to the recruit, our Resistance flyby.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
imagine what it's like to be an ace pilot? This is your chance to make that dream come true.
Now, this 2-part episode, The Recruit, aired on the Disney Channel on Sunday, October 7th, and then subsequent airings will be on Disney XD. Now, the story is by Dave Filoni, directed by Stuart Lee, and Part 2 is directed by Stuart Lee and Saul Ruiz, written by Brandon Auman.
Here is our episode synopsis. Poe Dameron signs the gifted but naive Resistance pilot Kazuda Zee-ono to an undercover mission where he will pose as a mechanic on the Colossus, which is a massive refueling platform in the Outer Rim ocean planet of Castellon. Now, sources have told the Resistance that someone on Castellon is helping the First Order, and Kaz must find out who it is. Now, on the Colossus, Kaz meets Yeager, Tam, Niku, and their trusty and slightly rusty astromech, Bucket. Together, they form Team Fireball, named for Kaz's ship. However, it isn't long before his lay-low status is blown when a misunderstanding puts him on the forefront as the best pilot in the galaxy.
All right, Sarah, let's start off with initial thoughts. What were your initial thoughts on this episode?
This is kind of 2 episodes in one, right?
Yes.
And we watched the first part, and then we had a break before we watched the second part.
Now, can we clarify something here that on some episode guides, this is listed as 1 episode.
Mm-hmm.
On other episode guides, it's listed as 2 episodes.
It's so confusing. So can we just call this episode 1, the whole thing? Because that's how it is on our Hulu.
Then there you go. Episode 1, The Recruit.
Okay. So it's part 1 and part 2. You know, I think the animation, even though it was a little different, I think it's top notch. I mean, it's got some beautiful shots. The colors are nice and saturated, which is a little different than what we've seen before. Like Clone Wars, you know, you have things that are kind of dirty and darker, whereas this was very bright and shiny.
And Hasbro-esque.
Yes, exactly. Like even the lighting specifically is really like, wow, in this series is very wow. So that's what I think of the animation. Did you have some initial thoughts on the episode before I get into a little more?
Well, this is definitely geared for the 6 to 8-year-olds. And at the press day, Athena Portillo, the executive producer, had said at first it was 6 to 12 years old. Then she backed up and said 6 to 8, which is pretty much on target right there.
Yes.
Now, like most TV series today, they jam-pack what should be 3 or 4 episodes into one just to speed the story up. Like Poe taking Kaz into the Resistance happened in the introduction to the series.
Yes.
That would have been really fun to have if we had seen this over the course of maybe half of this season. Because the Resistance, you don't fool around in the Resistance.
No.
It should take a little bit to prove yourself. And because of Kaz's strategy in the opening, Poe says, all right, you're in.
Right.
So that things happen a little too quickly, but I'm seeing that in a lot of TV series today just to get the story going.
Right. You kind of have to set up what your characters will be and where it is. So that's why they did that so fast.
Right. And they just want to get to that story. You know, this is no longer the 70s or 80s where shows would have 22 episodes, or even the 90s and up to 2000, I guess. It hasn't been really until the last couple of year or so that seasons are now 10 episodes, and they got to jam-pack everything in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad this is 22 episodes, which makes me think, well, why didn't they give this more time to really flourish? Then I go back to thinking, okay, it's for the 6 to 8-year-olds.
Right.
So they've really got to speed things along. And I'm really loving the fact that this is only 6 months before The Force Awakens. So I'm really hoping to see as the seasons progress and we go into that Force Awakens timeline.
And Justin Ridge did confirm at the press day that there would be a little overlap to The Force Awakens.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to the point where Kaz gets out of his own way. Because right now he's a little too overconfident, and his overconfidence is his weakness.
Yeah. I have one more initial thought, and this just came to me because, you know, I am a part of Fangirls Going Rogue, and we talk a lot about representation in Star Wars. And the first part of The Recruit, the whole first half, it was literally following 4 guys, and like, you know, and yes, there was aliens and stuff, but like with Star Wars wanting to be always representing and having more females, and that's like a big conversation out there on social media, I was a little surprised that like literally Poe and Kaz and there was like 2 other guys there. Like was Niku part of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Niku.
He's Team Fireball.
BB-8, yeah.
Yeager.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Yeager. So it was just a little surprising to me in that way. It rose a flag in my head.
Well, then you got to wonder what happened with Forces of Destiny, since that was so female-centric.
Yeah.
And maybe the ratings weren't so great on that, so they wanted to go back to appealing to just little boys.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But
seeing how big Sabine Wren is, and Ahsoka and Hera.
I mean, even boys, even guys, your our age love them. So
yeah.
And I mean, Sabine, really, her colors is what like little girls really glommed onto. So, you know, in this series so far, there isn't a character like that. I mean, maybe Tora Doza, but we haven't really seen much of her. You know, but she has some fun colors. She's got that nice teal.
Yeah. And she's very, very upbeat and happy.
Yeah.
So maybe they felt, with Niku, we're already satisfying that overly positive atmosphere. But you know what? I'm not against replacing Niku with Tora.
Yeah. I can see that.
Niku can be a little over the top sometime. And
It is so nice to meet you.
Yes.
You know what, Niku? Well, he will appeal to the youngins.
Definitely.
But,
and we do have to remember who the show is aimed for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So hope to see more of Tora, and I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a very, very good point, especially where the conversation is now with fandom.
Yes.
With fandom across the board.
All right. Well, now let's get a little deeper into The Recruit. And I want to know, Richard, what specifically grabbed you in this episode?
Well, they really hit the nostalgic nerve for the classic fans.
Yes.
That's what I'm calling myself now, classic fans.
Okay.
And the opening shot, you see this thing come up into the frame, rising very slowly, and it isn't too long before you realize, oh, this is an astromech, and the droid turns its head, and we see that it is the astromech droid C4.
Right.
That's Kaz's astromech. And it was just a really fun take on the Star Wars films, how you see something slowly emerge into the frame, and this just slowly rises.
Yeah.
This R2 dome rises and spins around as Kaz is in outer space. I love that shot, and right there I thought, okay, even though the series is for the younger audience, that tells me that they're reaching out to the classic fans.
Yes. You're not a vintage fan anymore? You're a classic fan?
Want to mix it up a little bit.
All right, let's go on to your second point here, because then I have something I'd like to say to it.
All right, now this is what I've mentioned on the shows past, but they finally give us the classic creatures that we've seen in the Star Wars original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, and they're satisfying that need for wanting more.
And you know what's fun about these creatures is that they're done in a fun, like, kid-friendly way. So like the sharper angles are more rounded. It's like you could take these classic creatures and make them into plush, and it would be awesome. So like, which classic creatures did you see?
Oh, well, we saw Rhodians of all body types.
Yes.
We saw Ithorians, the hammerheads.
Yeah.
The Snivians, which are the snaggletooths.
The Godel, right?
The Godels, yes. We've seen in the cantina. And we saw an Ishi Tib running around there from Return of the Jedi. And I was just so happy because that was one of the biggest complaints about the newer films, that, hey, you have something like Maz Kanata's castle, you have Canto Bight. How about throwing in a classic creature in there?
Right.
This is just ripe for that kind of character inclusion.
Yes. Well, and even Orka, he is, what is that little mouse creature?
A Shadra fan.
A Shadra fan, who we see
yes.
in the original cantina as well.
So they really listened to the I don't want to say complaints, but they listened to the critiques of the classic fans, and we want to get more classic creatures, and they gave it to us in droves.
Yeah, and that comes to my point here. Orka and Flix, as to what specifically grabbed me, it was Orka and Flix. I love them. Like, they're my favorite. I love funny voices. And like Flix, played by Jim Rash, you know, his voice is he's just got some great nuance to it. It's really funny.
You are one funny son of a Sleemo. Goodness, yes. It is the fireball. This is quite a voluminous list of parts.
Yeah, but I don't think he's putting on a voice there. I think that's just his voice.
It is.
As heard in Community.
Right. When we saw Community, like, he's just a funny guy, and his voice is, like, really a big part of that.
Yeah, maybe Flix is a little bit less flamboyant than the Dean in Community.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, so he plays Flix, and then Bobby Moynihan, who we got to meet, plays Orka, and the two of them just play off each other so well. And I don't think they recorded together, but they work together in this series. So they're my favorite. And Orka himself, I love his character design. And I can't put it together right now who he reminds me of. But over this season, I'm going to think of it. But there's some animated character in a film, gosh, I think it's like Rescuers Down Under or something that he reminds me of. And I can't put it together right now, but I will. I'll get it together.
I haven't seen that film, so I don't know.
Okay. But yeah, so Orka and Flix, they really, I like them a lot.
Yeah, I just wish they would give us the species of Flix.
Yes.
He's like a owl on ostrich legs.
Mm-hmm. And we did ask on Twitter.
Yeah, we asked Leland Chi, and he said details to follow on StarWars.com.
Ah, all right.
Come on. One of the things that really stuck out to me after watching these episodes is that it has a true Saturday morning cartoon feeling. And we haven't had Saturday morning cartoons for quite some time. I think this really captures it with the colors.
Well, Disney Junior's Saturday morning cartoon all day.
That's all day, but I mean true Saturday morning cartoons.
Okay.
Which is always primarily aimed at the very, very young.
Okay.
4 to 7, 4 to 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it has the bright colors. It has the goofiness. I think it's really the goofiness that really spells out Saturday morning cartoons. You watch something like Bugs Bunny or Scooby-Doo, everyone's always falling and tripping.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a little later as I go into the music, but the music contributes to that.
And this also has a quality of the 1970s variety shows where any guest star could just pop in at any time.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Like, well, let's take the Star Wars Holiday Special, where guest celebrities would just pop in.
Right. Oh, how does that apply to this show?
Now, this show, we're going to see, well, Captain Phasma.
Okay.
Poe Dameron. And they've teased the fact that we're going to see other known characters. So I think, you know what? Think of like Friends, the show Friends in the first 2 seasons. They would just have guest celebrities just to boost the ratings, yes, and visibility of the show. So I think it's going to be like that. Every once in a while, you're going to see another known character just pop in. Mm-hmm. Like we may see Maz Kanata fly in and then fly back out again. Yeager, having been a pilot for the Rebellion, he's got some friends. Maybe we're going to see Admiral Akbar pop up.
Okay.
General Medine might pop up. We haven't really seen him.
No.
He's been in books, but we haven't seen him for quite some time. So I think it's due that we see some more General Medine. So I think we're going to see those kind of characters pop up like a 70s variety show. They won't pop up and sing a song or get a Wookiee all riled up.
Okay.
But we're going to see them in that style. And you know what? I'm all for that.
You know what character that pops up that I really love?
BB-8?
Yes! BB-8. Oh, he keeps watch. Poe tells him to keep watch on Kaz, and that's exactly what BB-8 does. And, you know, it struck me as I watched the next episode, The Triple Dark, in that BB-8 is really Kaz's conscience. He's like his conscience on his shoulder, always like warning him or telling him not to do stuff, but Kaz doesn't always listen. And I think he needs to listen to his conscience more. But yeah, so BB-8 is one of my very favorite characters. It's like, oh.
Who would you like in BB-8 too?
Jiminy Cricket.
There you go.
Yeah. He's the Jiminy Cricket of Star Wars. I love it.
He's also like the cat on Hong Kong Phooey.
Never saw it.
Where Hong Kong Phooey is the number one super guy, the superhero, but it's always the cat that really saves the day uncredited. And BB-8 is always there to knock down an antagonist. So it's always BB-8 who's there to save the day. He doesn't need any credit.
No.
He's just doing his job.
Yeah.
Just like the cat on Hong Kong Phooey. Sounds like we have another homework assignment for you, Sarah.
I think so.
Watch Hong Kong Phooey.
Hong Kong Phooey, quicker than the human eye. He's got style, a groovy smile, and a vibe that just won't stop.
Okay. All right. Well, one other thing I really liked about this episode was the racing. When we finally got to it, we finally got to see some really awesome racing. So, and there were some great shots in there, some Top Gun shots and things. And I really loved that.
Oh, especially when Kaz is buzzing the tower like Maverick.
Yep. Yeah, that part was really beautiful. So beyond our problems kind of with the storyline being a little too fast, when we finally got to the racing, that's the part I think we both really enjoyed.
If you listen really closely, you'll even hear a little hint of Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins.
Really? You're making that up.
Not at all.
You're making
but
that up.
That would have been a really fun Easter egg. Had Michael Tavera, the composer, had slipped that in. Oh my goodness. It's already been out there that this is inspired by Top Gun.
Oh yeah, the poster, I mean everything, yeah. Oh, I wish. Well, that brings us to the music then. Are we ready to talk music?
As always.
Of Star Wars Resistance. So the music is by Michael Tavera. He's the composer. So let's learn a little about him and his history on IMDb. Thanks, IMDb. Now, he's been composing music since 1988, or at least he has credits in IMDb since 1988. And mostly he's been working on animated TV series, and that's punctuated by direct-to-video movies, TV movies, and shorts. So let's go through his timeline here. He worked on Back to the Future TV series in 1991.
Wait a minute. There was a Back to the Future TV series?
Apparently there was.
So we're talking animation, of course.
Oh yes, this is all animation here. He worked on House of Mouse in 2001 to 2002. He worked on Lilo and Stitch, the series, The Emperor's New School TV series. So he has some Disney, connections here. Most recently, he's been working on The Awesomes TV series and the Guardians of the Galaxy TV series is his most recent. And then also, as to direct-to-video, he's been working on all the Land Before Time direct-to-video movies since Land Before Time 2, way back in the 90s.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So he's really been working hard and, he has a ton of credits. And it's interesting that he's got a lot of animation background because as you were talking about, this series, Resistance, is aimed to that young audience. And there are parts of the show that the music really brings out that goofiness, that silliness, that Saturday morning cartoon. Mm-hmm. And that is in the Mickey Mousing. So, as you know, Mickey Mousing is basically composing music to different things as to what's happening on screen.
Give us an example.
Okay, well, I'll give you an example outside of this universe first. If you think of Coyote and Roadrunner and Coyote, let's say the Coyote has something fall on his head.
Like an Acme anvil.
Exactly. You'll hear the music go.
So it's mirroring what's seen on screen.
Yes. Yeah, physically, mostly.
Okay.
What's physically seen on screen.
Can I point one thing out? That
yes.
David Collins had, when he was breaking down the score for The Empire Strikes Back, he had showed us a scene at Celebration 6?
Sure.
I want to say, yeah. And when Luke had Yoda on his back and had done a flip, John Williams had composed a little...
Yeah.
And it just so didn't fit. Yeah. So
it's kind of like that. So here in this episode, The Recruit, when Kaz is running around the ship by himself, Poe's ship, when Poe went off to talk with Leia.
The blockade runner.
Exactly. Thank you. You guys know your ships. I'm a girl. I don't know them.
The Krellian Corvette.
Yeah, that thing. So So the Kaz is running around and he's like knocking into things and running into BB-8 sometimes. The music follows what he's doing. And it's like creeping music. It's like ding, 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 you know, kind of like that.
I think it's her. She's right behind this door. Ah!
It's very Mickey Mousing right there. So that I want to just say, I think that's kind of due to Michael Tavera's background in scoring all these animated TV series. And also probably director wanted that kind of feel.
Yeah, and once again, like you were just saying, it does really tie into that Saturday morning cartoon.
It does. All right, so let's talk about the theme song to Star Wars Resistance.
Wait a minute. There was a theme song?
Well, there's kind of a theme stinger at the beginning, right?
At best.
Yes. Yeah, so it's very short, but during the credits, we do get a longer version of it. So it is made a little longer. It's actually what Kevin Kiner did for Star Wars Rebels. You know, you hear a stinger when you see the Star Wars Rebels words at the very beginning of an episode. But then you get the full music at the end credits. So what's interesting about this phrase, because it's so short, it's more of a phrase. You know, Michael Tavera has created this theme as a fanfare, but then he takes it and uses it in various scenes to tie this whole episode together. So here, let's hear it on its own as a fanfare. And then Michael takes that theme and softens it up. So there's times when the Fireball crew are talking and Kaz is maybe learning something, learning to be a better person. And the theme comes in, it's played by woodwinds or strings, and it's at a slower pace. And it becomes this very retrospective idea.
Be outside pondering the weight of your deception.
You said he wouldn't be any trouble, Poe.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can hear that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting how he takes that one phrase and just, manipulates it to be what it needs to be for the scene.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We'll have to watch this episode for a fifth time.
Yeah, so you can kind of listen to the music a bit more.
Nice.
Okay, so I want to bring out a couple different musical notes within this episode, just so we can all watch it again and really, really get into the music here. Now, you were talking about how one of the scenes that really gets you is the beginning.
Right.
When you see the R2.
C4's dome pop into frame?
I'm sorry. I'm going to call it an R2. All right. When C4's dome comes up, before you know it's a dome, you have this kind of horn solo happening. It's very mysterious. And the horn is a very mysterious instrument, so it lends itself to, what is this thing that's popping up in space? Another fun moment is when Poe comes onto the screen, you don't hear Poe's theme from The Force Awakens, you get Luke's theme.
Now, I did notice that.
Whoa! Oh, Dameron!
Hold tight, kid, I got you.
I thought that was an interesting choice. I think it's probably just, this is aimed at the younger kids and they know that music.
Right.
I mean, whenever we're out at a party and that music comes on and as part of our playlist mix, at least a couple kids will be like, Star Wars!
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of which, Clone Wars and Rebels both had the Star Wars theme incorporated into the opening.
Yes.
You would think this would not be any different. Like you just said, they really want to appeal to the kids with that theme.
Yeah.
So why not put it into the opening where it would grab the kids right then and the kids would know this is Star Wars?
That's a very good question. And I'm sure they discussed that. I mean, that's something you definitely discuss. Maybe, wow.
Okay, we got to have Michael Tavera on the show and ask him that.
And explain that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just ask him that one question.
Yeah. Well, there's one more moment I want to bring up.
Oh, please.
And that is at the end of The Recruit, when Kaz and Yeager are talking and they're looking out at that gorgeous sunset. You get the first 7 notes of the Force theme, but then it changes.
Before you say anything, I just want to thank you.
Without your help, I would have gotten thrown over the side. Looks like I got my work cut out for me.
If the First Order is here, we'll all have to make some difficult choices in the future.
So it's like it's a stepping stone. You know, you use the beginning of a familiar melody, but then Michael Tavera made it his own.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really have to watch this again and just listen to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. So as to your question as to why they didn't incorporate Star Wars music, well, he did in some places.
Well, at the end.
Yeah, at the end.
We need it at the beginning.
I agree. So yeah, there's my musical breakdown for The Recruit.
Now, before we end this Resistance flyby, were there any questions left dangling?
Ooh.
I've got quite a few.
I've got a lot of questions too.
Not sure if that's a good thing or bad.
Okay. So I have one question. Why doesn't Kaz ever get to try out the race course before he races? You know, when you're designing a T-shirt, you know, you try out a bunch of different designs before you settle on the right one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that bugged me. That bugged me a lot.
Well, it comes down to timing.
I know.
I think that's what it was.
And the fact that his ship wasn't fixed before the race started?
Yes. As Niku said, don't go left or right or up or down or land.
Yeah.
It'll explode.
Okay.
That should be a red flag right there.
All right. What's a question you had?
Kaz, he is undercover on the Colossus as a spy, something I'll never be, a rebel spy.
Yeah, oh.
But Kaz is there on the Colossus as a resistance spy, and he's placed under Yeager's team, the Team Fireball.
Right.
As a mechanic. And they're telling him, all right, now go over there and fix this and fix that and do all this stuff that you're very much underqualified for.
Yes.
Like, well, Yeager, you know he's not a mechanic, right? He's posing as a mechanic, but you're telling him to do things that only an experienced mechanic would do, and never does Kaz say, hey, but put the brakes on here. You know I don't know how to do this, right?
Right. It would be more believable if, say, he and Tam were working together because she is the mechanic, and say Tam is like teaching him stuff.
Right. You can always say, this one goes there, that one goes there.
Exactly. So, because Tam is supposed to be the mechanic, but she's always wandering around throwing buckets of water over Kaz's ideas and stuff and being like, oh, and that comes to my question is, why are they making Tam so unlikable? She's like the only girl in this place and she's just like, I really want to like her. And yet in the first couple episodes, all she does is like, meow, 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 meow. Why is he bugging my stuff? Meow, meow, meow. So she's like pure reactionary to Kaz and his journey.
We need that yin and yang.
Yeah,
you need the resistance up against Kaz, because right now he's got Niku as a good friend and confidant, so they need someone for him to play off of. And you're right, it's way to the extreme.
Right.
But if you look at her point of view, she was next in line for the fireball, and Yeager just gives it to Kaz to race in. So I can understand where she's coming from.
Right.
But yeah, it's a little too much and doesn't really make her likable just yet. There isn't that one character hook where you can go, okay, well, there you go. But then again, this is going toward little kids, and maybe little kids do feel like this. And I know they do. When they feel like this should be mine, but yet it's given to someone else, they'll get into their little grumps.
That's very true.
So I think that's really appealing to the young kids.
Okay.
Now, the race announcer is voiced by Greg Proops, who also voiced Fode, the pod race announcer, and the Phantom Menace.
That's absolutely right. And a big turnout here from all corners of the Outer Rim territories. I see the contestants are making their way out onto the starting grid.
So my question is this supposed to be the same character? Because we never see him. Is the announcer on the Colossus, is he Fode? Now, they did say on StarWars.com that although the voice is the same, but it's more akin to a copycat invoking a classic announcer style. So they're really going on the copycat. But I would want to believe that maybe this is Fode, or maybe a relative of Fode.
Ready to launch.
I was going to say, Fode would be really old.
He would be, but then again,
who knows?
We don't know how long the Fode and bead species lives.
No, we don't.
So that's a question I had. And another question that pops up, which they're their foreshadowing, Yeager had said that Bucket, his little droid, was already 100 years old when he got him.
Whoa.
So I'm wondering if we've seen Bucket already.
Ooh, if he's like an Easter egg.
Yes.
That would be
so
cool.
that would be too much of a great opportunity to waste.
Yeah, since the Star Wars universe is so big and covers such a big time span.
Yeah. Would this be a rebooted Chopper? Because
Interesting.
we don't know who the voice actor is, since it says Bucket himself, and you know it's Filoni. So maybe that's the tie-in there. So I really like that foreshadowing, and I really hope it pays off.
What if Bucket is David Collins? Since he's working on the sound design. Oh, we need to bug him about this.
Yeah, but I really think it's going to be Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
That's just what he does.
It's true.
Now, in the beginning, another question I had. In the beginning, Poe takes Kaz to the blockade runner, and he says the ship has been around since the Battle of Scarif all the way to the Battle of Jakku. Now, I'm wondering if this is the Tantive 4. Although it had been said that Vader had destroyed the Tantive 4 right after he had taken Leia off of it. But you know what? It's Star Wars. They're infamous for retconning.
That's true.
So I really, really hope that this is the Tantive 4.
Huh.
Because you can't destroy a ship like that.
No?
No. I mean, he did point out the history of this ship.
Well, how many blockade runners were built? Do you know?
A lot.
There might have been a lot.
But why go ahead and point that out if it wasn't going to pay off down the line?
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
So that's another question I had.
Okay.
And, some questions are like, this should have been answered, but others are, I wonder
little
if
dangling carrots.
A dangling carrot, a little dangling foreshadowing there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, those are some questions. If you guys have answers for us or have some ideas, please tweet at us. We are at SkywalkingPod. And did you have any more questions, Richard?
No questions regarding the show, but a question for you.
Okay.
What was a standout moment in The Recruit?
Oh, okay. So I really loved when we finally got to the race. These fantastic Top Gun shots that they had. You'd be in the cockpit looking at the next ship going along, and you'd see the light and the sunlight beaming off with light flares and things.
So you like the point of view shots?
Yeah, the point of view shots in the race were really, really cool.
Okay.
It's like, let's get this series going with this awesome race.
Now, for me, I would say the comedic animation.
Okay.
Very, very Saturday morning.
Yes.
And very in line with what we've seen from BB-8 in the films. I love the fact that they really hyped it up. And if you just watch BB-8, he doesn't need to speak. You can just tell what he's doing by his over-exaggerated moves. Like, when Fred Flintstone runs?
Yes.
You see his feet going around, and takes off.
With the Mickey Mousing of the...
There you go. BB-8 had done the same thing in a couple of shots.
Yeah.
So I love that comedic animation. And plus, when Kaz went to Flix and Orka's...
Oh, it's not the recruiting station. It's the
acquisition center.
Thank you, the acquisition center.
And Kaz said, I don't really have the credits to pay for this. Cut to a shot of Orka and Flix does the very slow... pregnated pause over to the camera.
Yeah, with his mouth falling open.
Yeah. A great bit of animation right there. He could have gone, what?
Right.
But it was very, very slow. Like, what did you just say? And I love that. And there's been quite a few examples of that. But those are the two standout moments for me in the classic comedic animated shots.
Nice. Yeah, and similarly for me, Flix and Orka, I think, are my favorite characters so far, along with BB-8. I'm not into the main characters yet, and I think I just need to see more of their story and their storylines and their characters to really get into them. So this is another interesting moment. When we see Leia, we don't hear her, we just see her.
And for the record, I don't think we're going to hear Leia as portrayed by Rachel Patera ever on this series.
Oh,
ever.
I don't think so.
See, I was focusing more on Leia. Don't speak. Don't speak, Leia. They'll just have to replace your voice.
So we do want to note, we actually saw The Recruit about a week before Rachel Butera made those comments on Twitter, or made that video on Twitter.
But instinctively, I just knew.
Well, yeah, but she did not speak there either. So if you're wondering if Lucasfilm took out any speech that Leia had, she never had speech there, which is actually very good. In hindsight.
They're going, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank God.
Thank the midichlorians.
Yeah.
All right, so to wrap this up, this is a really fun start to this series, which is aimed for the 6 to 8-year-olds. And we look forward to seeing where they're going to take this in tone, and hope they don't go the way of Clone Wars, where it really got dark really, really quickly.
Right.
Yeah. Let's keep this for the little younglings.
And those Skywalkers who have children, I really love to know like how they respond to it, who their favorite character is. So please tweet at us at SkywalkingPod, or write in. You can write in, share at skywalkingthroughneverland.com, and just let us know how they responded to these episodes.
Or send in a voice memo.
Oh yeah, we'd love that.
We'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so just go to your phone. You can just record a voice memo. You can have your kid talk if you want. Let them, introduce them.
Let's hear a little review from them.
Yeah, that would be great. And then, once again, email that to share at skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
All right, one more last thought. Maybe this is where we're going to get the backstory to Snoke.
Oh.
I doubt they'll go there.
Then it'll be really dark.
Well, yes, but for those fans who want the backstory to Snoke, this would be the perfect opportunity.
Wow.
Well, join us next week when we give you a Resistance flyby on the episode The Triple Dark, which airs October 14th.
Though it's now available on Hulu and on your Disney Channel app, or wherever you have Disney Channel.
So for Resistance flyby, this is Richard.
And this is Sarah.
And now let's give everyone a sneak peek of The Triple Dark. Bye, everyone.
Fly by.
Ooh, what is that?
Oh, it's my lucky trophy, Niku. It reminds me of home.
I once had a pet named Lucky that reminded me of home. And then it died. And then I ate it, and it was supremely delicious. And then I had severe...
Whoa! That's good, Niku. I do not need to know any more.